Hey, how's it going? The state of Hawaii during the last presidential election certified that Barack Hussein Obama Jr. was in fact born in Hawaii. There were announcements in both daily papers, the Honolulu Star Bulletin and the Honolulu Advertiser. Um, and apparently, the government of the state of Hawaii is saying that the birth occurred here was not enough, and that for some reason, people think that Barack Obama has spent $2 million to cover up his birth certificate, and they've never shown any evidence that he has done that. Um, and the state government reported that the Department of Health had received hundreds of requests from people on the mainland for his birth certificate. Now, here in Hawaii, we do have laws about who is allowed to have a copy of someone else's birth certificate. Uh, you are allowed to see your own. Your spouse can see it, blood relatives, and that sort of thing. I'm going to include links below. And the legislature even voted on a bill to give the state the power to ignore repeated requests from the same person for the birth certificate. Because we had people who would request a birth certificate, be denied, and then they would request it again. And the state is paying for all this postage. The state has to mail you a letter, and the state has to pay for it. So this was money going out. And it was just a complete waste of state workers' time and a waste of our taxpayer dollars. See, we pay taxes here in Hawaii just like every other state of the union. And it doesn't matter how much it was or how little it was. All that matters, it was our money being spent on something that had been settled. So the legislature allowed the State Department of Health to ignore repeated requests for the birth certificate from the same people. So if someone would request a birth certificate, be denied, and then request it again, as if they could wear down the state of Hawaii bureaucrats. Speaking as someone who has had to deal with these bureaucrats upon occasion, I can tell you, you will not wear them down. If they tell you no today, they will tell you no tomorrow, and the day after that, and the day after that. But when I saw this whole thing unfolding, and then when the bill came up, I thought to myself, these guys, these legislators, and the governor, Neil Abercrombie, they just handled the whole thing wrong. I would have handled it in a completely different way. Um, Now, when you request a birth certificate, you have to pay a fee. It's been a long time since I had to request any kind of vital records on a relative, so I'm going by memory. This is how I would handle it. For out-of-state requests for personal records, I would charge a $50 processing fee to everyone. Even if the request is denied, you still have to pay the $50. So if you want to part with $50 of your own fucking money every single week, be my guest. The request will come in with a check, and a self-addressed stamped envelope must be included with every request. So then they look it over and decide, well, you have no legal right to see the document. They'll include a form letter in your return envelope and mail it back to you. And we keep your $50. Now, either one of two things will happen. Either these people who keep requesting records will stop once they realize that they are now losing money in a losing battle against a small army of bureaucrats who have no intention of changing their minds. And they can't even, it doesn't matter if they change their minds, they can't change the law. The law is the way it is. It's in black and white. Barack Obama, after all, as someone who was born here, does have legal rights in the state of Hawaii. And one of these is protection of his sensitive vital records. They just can't release them to anybody. He does have that legal right, and the state is obligated to protect those rights, regardless of your political affiliation. But I would simply have some lady sitting at a desk, and she would get all these requests. She'd get the request in the mail, She'd take all the checks, deposit them, and as soon as the checks clear, she sends a rejection note back to you in the envelope you include. And if someone complains and says, hey, I paid you the $50 processing fee, the simple response is, well, we keep your $50 whether the answer is yes or no, because you're out of state. So I would call it, a processing fee or a research fee or something like that. See, when I go to the state courthouse and I want a court file pulled, it costs me $5. And that it really all depends. When you go to the courthouse and request a court filing, before a certain date, you can just look at them. They'll just go to the shelf, yank it off there, and show it to you. If it has been put on microfilm, then there's no charge for that either. They just take that off the shelf and show it to you. But between a certain date, documents are in storage. They're boxed up and put in a storage room someplace, and it costs you $5 to request that file. Now, if you request the file and you don't find what you need in the file, that's your problem. It costs you $5 to have it pulled out so you can look at it. That is what I would do to these people. If it's from out of state, $50. If it's from another country, the $100. And you still have to pay, the fee and include a self-addressed stamped envelope. And I would just have a stack of these rejection slips on that lady's desk. And just deposit the checks every day, and when the check gets cleared, just, put the rejection notice in the envelope and mail it off, and that would just be that lady's job. I understand that they were receiving something like 300 requests a month. At $50 a shot, 300 times 50 is, was it $15,000? $15,000 a month coming into the state of Hawaii. See, we're a tourist state. People come here, I admit, we do tend to gouge them a bit. And I think those guys in the legislature forgot how to gouge the tourists. It's obvious that none of them has ever worked in the tourism industry, because if they had, they would have known better. So I'm going to put this out there for Governor Neil Abercrombie and the Hawaii State Legislature. If you decide to change your procedures in some way, charge everybody $50 for the request. And if they pay by credit card, that's great too. Otherwise it's our money being spent to mail these rejection notices back to these morons. Anyway, you guys take care, and I'll see you again soon.